you got to be responsible. One of the number one roles of a visionary leader when you're starting a business outside of leadership, you got to set the culture.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to set the culture, and I didn't set the culture. Everything changed for me when I started to rebuild again and started to have similar problems. I was like, something ain't right.
Yeah.
It's me. I finally realized it ain't them, it's me.
Are you ready? We're gonna run the play. Let's
Do you know what it's like to come from nothing at all, but every day you just wanting it all? Do you know what it's like? Every day facing your fear, but believing that your blessing is near. Do you know what it's like? Growing up broker than most, but still being devoted the most. Do you know what it's like? Yeah, that's what the journey's about. Yeah, let me show you how.
What's going on, everybody? This is Justin Owens, back at the Run the Play show, where I help break down the top plays of success from top leaders, entrepreneurs, and personalities by sharing gems from their personal playbook. And today, I got a Hall of Fame. Dang, I should start over, right? Yeah, I just run all together. Yeah, are you ready? What's going on, y'all? This is Justin Owens, back at the Run the Play show, where I help break down the top plays of success from when it comes to top leaders, entrepreneurs, and personalities by sharing gems from their personal playbook. And today, I'm excited. I got one of my brothers in the room. He is a Hall of Fame wealth strategist, Mr. Marvin Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, man?
Good to see you, bro.
Man, I'm glad to be here, man. Glad to be seen. Glad to have you here. Because we're going to talk money. We're going to talk about your journey. We're going to talk about, how it is to be a high-value man out here in the world.
Absolutely. Well, first off, man, I want to say, man, I appreciate the honor of being on your show, bro. You somebody I respect in the community.
Thank you, bro.
Just your leadership, man. Your poise, man. I've been watching what you've been doing, and you definitely inspirational, man.
Thank you, bro.
Motivating a lot of people.
Thank you, bro.
And also showing people that leadership is something that's important, that you should not just worry about selling and marketing, but you need to lead.
Yeah, no, for sure, bro. I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely, man.
It's a good brother here, man. You know what I'm saying? So let's jump into it. Let me just ask you this, because I always like to start off with something a little fun.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, now you've built an incredible company
across
multiple states, doing an incredible amount of revenue, helping a lot of customers.
Yeah.
Which has afforded you great financial success.
Yeah.
And I know we've had some conversations about, the dating space, so I'm not saying that just making money makes a person a high value man, but by today's standard, they would say, hey, that's a high value man. Yeah. How is the dating world today as a high value man?
Well, let me tell you, I was sheltered, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, bro. So, and I was always quiet about having any money. So you got to keep in mind, as a financial advisor, it was looked down upon to drive a nice car, or was looked down upon to even show your house, or any of that was looked down on. Wow. So I was driving like an old Ford. I had money, but I was driving like an old Ford Taurus, living in a 1,000 square foot house, living like I was a scarcity mindset. So I never really attracted, and I was in a relationship, right? So with that being said, I was overlooked.
Yeah.
So the people who I was with, they were with me for me.
Yeah.
Well, I got into this online digital space.
Yeah.
I built my company, came down to Atlanta. I probably had been to Atlanta 2 or 3 times to visit.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the women out here in Atlanta, bro.
Yeah.
So when I came down here, all of a sudden, online, I'm showing a little more. By this time, I had got a nice car. I got a Lamborghini. Got a Rolls Royce. I'm trying to hide it, but you got to talk about it sometimes because it's like it attracts people. So I wasn't even ready for what it attracted, man.
Yeah.
So the dating scene, I'm a little scarred. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right,
so it came from me thinking everybody was just in it for you to realizing that people could be real creative in a way that they approach it, when maybe they're really out here looking for a come up, or they're looking for something else. But you know what I'm saying? I didn't know. So and I pride myself on being very intuitive. Like I typically know, you know what I'm saying, what's going on, but I wasn't ready for it, man. There's girls out here now who literally would be, you go out to one dinner for you, they'll be saying, hey, we should go to the mall. Like I was looking at this Chanel bag. It's like, we just met, you know what I'm saying? Anybody Chanel bag? Like
at dinner?
Bro, yeah. I went to dinner with this one girl, bro. We just vibing, we chilling, and she was just like, so because I sheltered myself. I ain't even drive. I Ubered.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, let me try to have her find out. She didn't have my IG or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, how many, so she was trying to hit. She was like, so tell me about, so you got a house out here? So how big is your house? Like, do you make over, she was like, do you make over 6 figures? And I was like, close to that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to be low key.
Mm-hmm.
So she kept asking probing questions. I was just playing it to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So then eventually I cut it short, right? She looked me up on IG. She saw I did a couple interviews, Breakfast Club and different things like that. She hit me up. She was like, why didn't you tell me who you were? Like, what you doing tomorrow? Like, all of a sudden, she was like all on me.
Wow.
She was acting shit. So it's some of that stuff, man, like after getting like, feeling like women were on that, sometimes I got to find a balance, because sometimes it's okay to be a giver. Being a giver is in my nature. Yeah. But sometimes I kind of stay away from like doing too much, which is against my character, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression, the wrong idea. Yeah. But sometimes I can go too far. Yeah. I can be like, nah, I ain't doing it, when I really should have, because it wasn't a big deal. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean when it's scored, because I'm trying to find that balance.
Yeah. What I've learned, man, is like you have to be yourself to everybody, but the levels that you open up yourself to people, they have to earn it. And I think
what you mean by that, bro?
It's like because you like, I'm a giving person naturally. Right. I can tell you're a giving person naturally. It's like, I could be giving, so I would give time. We could do a meal here or there. Yeah. But for some of these extra things, like that comes with time, and it's on my discretion, because it's my stuff. If I want to give it, it's like nobody can force me to give it. But also, I feel like if I have the urge, I'm like, okay, I want to do something nice for this person, I'll do it. Yeah. And I try not to
on my own.
Because I try not to. It's like business, you know what I'm saying? Like you can take lessons from a previous business into a new business. Right. But I can't take that experience into this new business, because I didn't like that experience. Yeah. Because obviously I'm not there no more. So like, and now if I take that experience to a new experience, well, odds are I'm gonna duplicate it. Yeah. So I'm saying, okay, what was the lesson from this? What was the lesson from that? All right, let me throw away the rest. Start something new, and you just learning. But I stay myself, but it's like those other levels got to be earned. Yeah, and I just realized, the person that you choose as your spouse is probably the most important decision
for sure. You can make in your life. So, when you're coming up, when people see you rising, when people see you coming up, you're naturally gonna attract people, because women, they love to see a person coming up in ambition. So you using that discretion and just making sure that person is in it for me is super, super important, because you know what I mean? If they show that over time, and sometimes it takes some time, then man, that's the person that you want to be with. And I didn't make the right choices in the past. And I think that's a part of growth too, because like, a lot of people y'all know, I was married at one time, and actually me and my daughter's mom have a great relationship now. Yeah. And so, but jumping back out into the dating world, it was totally different. I was like, okay, this is some different rules out here. You know what I'm saying? Because you was, you was in a relationship, you was sheltered a little bit. So you had to learn, and I think that's a part of the process. But then you find out really quick, like, what you want, what you don't want. And then, you're a smart guy. You like me. Like, you figure out, okay, what's out here. And you figure it out, and now it's like I know what to look for now. You know what I mean? So it was fun, man. I learned a lot, bro. I mean, I don't regret any past relationship I was in, because I definitely learned a lot, and it was fun while it lasted. But then when it's over, you realize that, why the hell did I put myself through that? You know what I'm saying? You realize, like, damn, the warning signs, the red flags, they were there, like the whole time. Like, for sure, people saw it. You know what I'm saying? I should have saw it, but but it is what it is. It is, it is what it is. It was fun. It is what it is. Yeah. So, all right, let's jump into some money. I always like to start there. Anytime I have one of my brothers on, I gotta ask them. So I always hear people talking about like become your own bank. Right. I don't know. Can you help us understand, like, what is becoming your own bank? How does a person do that? Okay. So when we say becoming your own bank, we obviously not talking about, because some people will be like, oh, I ain't no bank yet. Like, obviously you're not transitioning into an actual bank. Yeah. You're operating like the banks. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So the way the banks operate, they take in your money. Okay. They pay you pennies on the dollar. Mm-hmm. They use your money as leverage. They can multiply it and leverage it up to 10 times for every dollar that they get. Okay. Then they can go out and take your money and issue out loans. So they might pay you 3%, but then they giving out a loan for like 8%.
Okay.
So many people think that your money is, when you put your money in the bank, you think that, oh, well, that's the bank's, that's an asset for the bank.
Yeah.
Actually, no. When you put your money in the bank, it's actually a liability for the bank because they have to pay you interest. It only turns into an asset when they take that money and loan it out. Now it's an asset because they're making more money than they're paying you. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
So it's the same thing when we talk about becoming your own bank. So it's like, okay, if you are saving, and when we talking about life insurance, and I'll explain that, it's a special type of life insurance in the way that you fund it.
Okay.
But when you're making your own bank, you put your money into the account. Now understand that when you put your money into the life insurance and you accumulate a cash value, that's not necessarily an asset yet.
Yeah.
You have to borrow against it, and then you have to buy an asset, and you use your life insurance as a funnel. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So any dollar that I'm getting, I'm funneling it through my life insurance policy. The reason why is that once it hits that life insurance policy, it will continue to grow as if I never touched it tax-free.
Okay.
And then I can borrow from it, and it's making money. And then I can buy, let's say, a real estate property. Now that real estate property is earning appreciation, it's paying me out an income stream for cash flow, and I'm making money off the life insurance at the same time.
So you tell me, so if you make $50,000 this month, right? Just give an example.
Yeah.
You put $50,000 into the life insurance.
Right. Okay, so look at it like this.
Okay.
Let's just say I had $100,000 sitting in the cash flow, life insurance. Mm-hmm. And I'm finna put a little test to you.
Yep.
So it's earning 5%. Let's forget about the life insurance. You got $100,000, no life insurance. Mm-hmm. You're earning 5%. Mm-hmm. 1 year later, how much money do you have total?
If you're earning 5%, it's 5,000, so 105,000.
Yeah, right, 105,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say you got $100,000. This time, let's say it's in the life insurance. Mm-hmm. Still earning you 5%. We starting over. We got $100,000 earning you 5%. But this time, you borrowed $30,000 against that policy. 1 year later, how much money do you have in the cash value?
Basically the same thing, right? As long as you pay it back. No?
Yes and no. So it is the same thing. It's $105,000.
Okay.
That part's right.
Yeah.
Why? Because it continues to grow as if you never touched it.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Because you didn't touch it. You just borrowed against it. You didn't take from it. It's like when you borrow from a real estate property. You did a home equity line of credit. You didn't touch the property.
Yeah.
You just borrowed against the equity.
Got it. Okay.
Same thing. So you borrowed against it, so it's still growing as if you never touched it. So that part's right. Mm-hmm. The second part you said, as long as you pay it back.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay it back.
Okay.
So that's one of the benefits of it, because if I got $100,000 cash value and I borrowed $30,000 from it, if I do pay it back, that's great, and I recommend you pay it back because you'll be increasing your capacity to borrow more in the future.
Got it.
But if you don't pay it back, guess what? You don't have to. It's subtracted from the death benefit when you die. The death benefit is always more than the cash value. So if I got $100,000 cash value, more than likely I probably got a $3 million death benefit. So what they're going to do is they're going to subtract what you borrow plus interest from the death benefit when you die. So when you borrow from this fund, or when you look to borrow from this fund, they don't check your credit score. They're not checking to see when you're going to pay it back. There's no structured payments. There's no taxes on it because it's growing tax deferred, tax free. There's liquidity, access, and control, which means I can borrow from it at any time I want. I don't have to wait until I'm like 59 and a half, like if it was a 401k. And I don't have to pay it back because nobody's chasing me down. It's not reported. Like they basically use your death benefit as the collateral.
Got it. Now, but let me ask you this, because that is, and I'm asking because I don't really know this. Right. It's like you get whole life in term.
Yep.
So that also means I have to pay that policy off, right? Like,
yeah.
So what if I, like, 5 years, I say, I don't want this insurance policy no more. Do I now got to pay that back?
Yeah, so good question. So you can structure it in multiple different ways. You can set it up where you're paying payments on it for life. Okay. You can set it up where you're only paying payments on it till you're 65. Or you can even do like a 5-pay, which means I'm only paying it this for 5 years. That don't mean I don't have the policy for my life. It just means I structure my premiums to stop at a certain time. And another thing that people don't know is that you don't have to, let's say I got a policy set up and I'm paying $50,000 a year into that policy.
Yep.
But I set it up where I have what's called a APR, like a rider that's going to allow it to go more into my cash value, right? Yep. The minimum, let's say the minimum is $100, right? The minimum is $100, but I'm putting $50,000 in there.
Okay.
All I got to do is pay $100 into that policy to keep it active. I don't have to pay the rest of it in there. Now I want to because that's what's going to go straight to my cash value, but you don't have to pay the whole amount to keep it active depending on how you structure the policy.
Got it. Okay. So
but you're right. But if you just say I'm not going to pay it all, I'm just done, and you don't, and let's say you 2 years later you was like I ain't paying it all, you can get what you've accumulated so far in the cash value, but of course it's going to cancel the policy because you're not funding it anymore.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I was always curious about that because like we was kind of talking before, but like my dad had did Primerica when I was younger. Yeah. So like R. Williams was buy term and invest.
That's the difference. I hate whole life. I hate permanent life.
What's your philosophy on that? Because here's what I do know. Like that was a philosophy of insurance in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And I'm not saying that it's wrong, but what I do know is that the financial industry has changed and grown, so there may be new products.
Yeah.
What is your philosophy on buy term and investment?
When I say that R.L. Williams, that's his name, right?
Yeah. A.L. Williams.
A.L. Williams was one of the best marketers of our generation. Like when it came to Primerica, he had the whole world saying buy term and invest the difference. And then I would say Dave Ramsey is sort of he's kind of like in that same boat, right? Term is not a bad thing.
Okay.
I have term insurance myself.
Yeah.
Term though is let me ask you a question. Let's just say, this will make it make sense. I'm going to give y'all a real quick 5-minute lesson on life insurance.
Okay.
Let's say I can get me a policy that has a $500,000 death benefit.
Yep.
I could pay $500 a year for that policy, or I can pay $10,000 a year for that policy.
Yep. On
first hand, what would you say you would rather pay, $500 or $10,000?
$500.
$500, right? That's the minimum amount that you can pay for a $10,000 for a $500,000 policy.
Yep.
Who do you think determines the minimum?
Who determines the minimum?
Yeah.
The insurance company?
The insurance company, right? The insurance company, they have actuaries that determines how much could we actually allow this person to pay where we're still profitable. Because they understand that 97% of term life policies are never paid off. Because they expire after a certain amount of term.
Yep.
See, many people think that they either cancel it or it expires. Many people think that the insurance companies are making way more off of permanent life because the premiums are way higher.
Yeah.
But really they're making way more off of term life because they're never initiated. Only 3% of those are ever initiated. So they love term. They'll keep pouring in term. So we know that's the minimum, which is good for certain things. Like if I know if I got a house that's worth $1 million and I want to pay it off, if I die in the next 10 years before I can pay it off, then term is a good thing.
Yep.
Now, if I'm putting $10,000 into that policy, who do you think determines the maximum amount that you can put into that same policy?
You.
Most people think that it's actually the government. So let me ask you a question. Why would the government be concerned about how much money you put into a life insurance policy? Taxes. Because they know that if you dump too much money in it, you never got to pay taxes on that money again. And in fact, in the older days, that's what used to happen. Rich, wealthy people used to dump millions of dollars into these policies because it was forever scraped against taxes. No more taxes on the growth, no more taxes when they borrow against it. They don't have to report it to the IRS. It's just hidden money. Creditor proof. Nobody can sue you and take that money. Nobody can divorce you and take that money. That money was creditor proof. Completely, right? So that was a protection asset level. So it still is. But what they did was the government said, we're going to set a limit to how much you can pump into this policy. And if you go over that limit, it's called a MEC. What a MEC means is a modified endowment contract, which simply means that unless you follow the rules and limit what you put in there, and you have to fund it for at least 7 years, if you don't do that, it's going to be taxable, just like your 401k, just like your IRA, just like any of those 403bs or thrift savings plans at work. Now, if you're going to put $10,000 in it, we already know that taxes, it must be a benefit because the government is restricting it. That's not enough. You're going to want to know, well, what else are the benefits if I'm putting this much money into the same death benefit that I can get for $500?
Right.
It better be good, right? It better be good. You better have a lot of benefits. So some of the benefits are tax-deferred growth, liquidity, access, and control of your money. You can borrow against it and buy, and your money is working for you 2 to 3 times off the same dollar. There's non-structure, which means you don't have to pay it back if you don't want to pay it back. It's safety provisions, which means you're guaranteed no loss provisions. You can't lose money when the money hits it. So you can actually use that as a cash flow fund. And there's so many other benefits that I don't have time to talk about, but it's so many benefits, which is the reason why it's becoming more and more popular. It wasn't popular when I started doing this 15 years ago. It's way more popular now. If you mention it, people know what you're talking about. Yeah. And some of the A.L. Williams, some of that stigma is starting to wear off, and people are starting to realize the benefits. Because what I did when I came to this industry, I made it cool because there's infinite ways that you can design these policies. Yep. You can design them where you get the highest death benefit for the lowest premium, or you can design it where you get the lowest death benefit for the highest premium. I'm gonna do the lowest death benefit for the highest premium because more of your money goes to work. But the downside is if you're an advisor like mine, when you structure it the right way, we get paid a lot less. It's 70% less commission. So a lot of people say, well, why don't everybody teach you this if it's so many benefits? Because it's hard to get a man to understand something that his wallet depends on him not understanding. So the companies, why would they go out widespread and train all these agents to do it this way if they're costing themselves 70% profit? Yeah. Why would a typical 90%ers go out and teach people this method if they know they make 70% by selling it the old-fashioned way? Right. Because if you do it the old way, it ain't gonna build up no cash value. It's gonna grow super, super slow. And those are the ones that A.L. Williams was talking about. Those are the ones that Dave Ramsey was talking about. It grows too slow. But if you're gonna supercharge your policy, I gotta be prepared to do it the right way and get paid a lot less to do it. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That was good. So now let me ask you this. Can you pay off a policy ahead of time? To me, if I buy, because whole life you pay until you said 65.
Correct.
Could I say, okay, this is what my premium is up until 65. Let me just write a check and.
You can. So I can go up and say, you know what? It looks like I'm gonna be putting $300,000 in there. I got $300,000. I'm gonna dump this whole $300,000 in. That's called a single premium insurance product. They're very popular. It's called a SPIA, single premium insurance product, right? The upside to that is that your money goes to work for you right away, and you can borrow like up to 90-something% off it like within 5 days. Yeah. The downside of it is it turns into a MEC. A MEC means, remember when you dump all the money in at one time and you don't follow the rules, it becomes taxable. Got it. After certain years, when a profit starts hitting, which typically takes 3 to 4 years, if you got a loan out against it, they can start taxing that, right? Got it. Sometimes it's not a bad thing because if I got my money in cash earning 4%, but I can put my money into this this single premium insurance product that's earning 8%, and I can borrow from it and pay it back right away without it being taxed, it's still a good move, but you got to know the rules if you're doing that so it don't turn into an event that you're surprised by at tax time.
Got it. I like that. Okay. Yeah. I learned some stuff right now. We'll come back. We'll come back to that the insurance side in a second. I want to talk about the business side because we were talking earlier. I got my start at door-to-door sales. I think you did some stuff in door-to-door sales. And I always talk about transferable skills. Yeah. Like, because sometimes people could be like, oh man, I was doing this and this didn't work out for me, that didn't work out for me. And it's like, yeah, maybe you had lessons. Yeah. But there are skills that you can learn from every relationship or every business that can also help set you up. So can maybe give me like a little bit of backstory, like where you get your start? Were there any pivotal businesses that were like a part of your journey that helped you?
Yeah, it's funny because when like now, you look at me now, I got 2 businesses, 8-figure businesses, right? And people say that all the time, like, how did you get started in this? You know, it was a whole backstory on how I got started, but what gave me the transferable skills, it wasn't financial advising at all. It wasn't studying books about finances. It wasn't any of that. Wow, okay. It was getting my start selling knives.
Okay, so Cutco.
Cutco. You know, remember Cutco? Vector Marketing.
I went to the presentation. It was real close. I just couldn't afford the knives at the time.
First of all, I ain't gonna say anything about the ethical practices or so, because I mean they used to tell you, we used to go around telling people that buy these knives from me because I'm looking to try to earn a scholarship. I'm trying to win. Out of that whole company, one person won a $250 scholarship. Oh, Lord. So that's a whole nother story. But what I learned from that is I learned to deal with rejection. See, it's a muscle, right? Yeah. See, me in door-to-door sales, and when I started off my financial career, I started off at Edward Jones. Yeah. And it was nothing for me because of the fact that we had at Edward Jones, the way you got prospects, you had to go door to door.
Wow.
We had to knock on 100 doors a day, get 20 qualified prospects, and set appointments with a certain number of those people.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, what I learned from it is that 95% of the battle is not what you sell, 90% of the battle is up here, right? One of my favorite books that I've ever read when it comes to preparing yourself to do door-to-door sales and to get your mind right was a book by Og Mandino called The Greatest Salesman in the World.
Yep.
That book changed my life. The reason why it changed my life is because it don't have nothing to do with sales.
Yeah.
But when I was knocking on doors, when I started at Edward Jones, man, everybody, and I was in St. Louis, so it was like all old white people, and then it was me, and I was young, knocking on people's door. Keep in mind, I'm working with older people. And at first, I felt like everybody was slamming the door in my face. They was like, people would look out their blinds. They didn't want to talk to me.
Yep.
One time, I actually ran into a spider web on the street, and this older man looked up at me and said, "Did you run into that spider web?" I said, "Yeah, I did." He said, "That means you don't belong in this neighborhood." Man, I had to deal with all of that stuff, man, and I was ready to quit. I was ready to give up, but I still had to go home writing thank you cards, literally sometimes with tears in my eyes, smearing the ink that I was writing, but I still had to keep going, right? It wasn't until I read that book that I would realize that they wasn't the problem. I was the problem. I was actually projecting the way that they were going to treat me before they treated me that way. I was going out in the morning saying, "Oh man, I'm black in this neighborhood. I'm young. They ain't gonna want to talk to me, but I'm doing my job." But because I had those thoughts, I'm a reflection. It's the law of the mirror. If I'm thinking at myself, people are going to respond to me the way that I see myself. Because as a man thinks in his heart, then so is he. And people saw me as a caterpillar because I saw myself as a caterpillar in that market. When I read that, it was two different verses. Scrolls that really changed. The first one was, "I will greet this day with love in my heart." They said, one of the lines said, "Who could say no to my goods when their heart feels my love?" It said, "I will greet them and I will secretly smile to myself and say, I love you." Though spoken in silence, it will put a smile on my face, a wrinkle on my brow, and who can say no to my goods when their heart feels my love?
Wow.
So I started practicing that. I started going out, smiling. I was like, man, I love this person, right? And it sounds corny, but I would literally open the door, and when they opened the door, I would step back, and I would smile, and I would say, you couldn't even hear me say it, but you felt it, right? And when they opened the door, all of a sudden, people started inviting me in. They wasn't closing the door. I used a dress from the Goodwill. I ain't have no money at this time.
Same way, yep.
People, bro, this guy invited me in and said, "I want you to succeed. Come down to my basement." He designed suits. He had like 5 suits that was my size already. He said, "Take these suits. Go out and win." I had people inviting me in for dinner. I had people referring me to their neighbors down the street. So what changed? I was knocking in the same neighborhoods. What changed? It was the energy that I gave off because of the way that I felt about myself. And then the second one was, I will persist until I succeed.
Yeah.
That was real good because it kind of showed me that, look, law is a law of averages, right? Don't worry about if people are slamming the door or saying no. You got to keep persisting till you proceed. And every time you persist, that muscle gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So now I got so many no's and so many people, but I didn't look at it as like a negative thing. I looked at it as it was building my persistence muscle. So now it's like when I'm pushed back against the wall now, I'm at my best.
Yeah.
Like when people try to actually throw stones at me and try to hold me back, I see it and I smile because I was like, they don't know what they're doing. They actually propelling me and they don't know they propelling me.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Somebody tried to, when I left one of my financial firms, bro, and they tried to throw a frivolous lawsuit at me because they said basically I was taking proprietary material, which wasn't true. And they admitted from the stage that they don't have anything on me, but they said they got more money than I do, and they're going to take me out of business because they was afraid of my influence, that people would follow me. I had some of my best years ever during that time because they pushed me up against the wall, and I came out and 10x my business through that fire. So, so you know, those are the things that really caught my attention, man, and that I'm nature's greatest miracle. There's nobody like me. Nobody can walk, talk. So I stopped trying to be like everybody else, and I started being my authentic self. That carries over to everything that I'm doing today in my business. When I got this job as a financial advisor at Edward Jones, which was my first job, I came in, I had a C average in school, right? I was up against somebody who had an A average at Wash U, because we interviewed back to back. They only was going to hire one person. I got the job. Why? What did they talk about 90% of the interview? So you worked at door to door? You sold knives? Tell me about that. You worked at Wendy's? Tell me about that. So when you learn communication, you can flip any of that conversation. So how did somebody who worked at Wendy's and sold knives compete against somebody who was this summa cum laude person that was hey, you know why? Because I knew how to flip the conversation. So they said, so how does you working at Wendy's? They even said, so what makes you think you're qualified when your job was working at Wendy's and you have no degree in finance, right? I said, let me tell you this. The hardest thing I ever had to do was stand in 100-degree heat all day and flip burgers and still smile and have to have good customer service, right? If I can get through that while I'm sweating and flipping burgers and serving people, I can go out and knock on doors. This is easy. Yeah. Talk friendly to people and talk about financial advisory. That's easy. Yeah. Right? So you can flip anything that you did and turn it into to the best outcome.
Wow. I like that. All right. So we got Cutco.
Yes,
any other experiences that have carried it? Because I got Cutco, you learn rejection.
Network marketing.
And how to flip it. Okay, so network marketing. Okay.
Network marketing.
I know a little bit about that.
There's a big stigma with network marketing. It's either you love it or you hate it. But let me tell you, network marketing probably was one of those extension letters that just propelled my belief system. Number one, what network marketing taught me, and I was in my 20s when I did this, but it taught me, it went from just working hard selling knives to talking about, no, you got to develop yourself. Yeah. They were talking about, you got to read this John Maxwell. You got to read Think and Grow Rich. You got to read these books. So network marketing is what got me on my self-development journey to realize it wasn't just about hard work and ethic. It was, it was about getting your mind right. Yep. And then the second thing that it did for me is it taught me how to speak, to be on stages. Because when I was in those rooms, coming up with a presentation, getting those 7 or 8 people to sign up for it, I had to face my fear in those small groups. I had to build a community. I had to build a team. Yeah. There's nothing else that's going to teach leadership like network marketing, right? Because you got to learn to lead all of these people trying to go all these different ways. And here I am in my early 20s leading people, doing presentations for people who are 2 or 3 times my age. Yeah. And I'm out here, first I was horrible at it. Then people realized, wait a minute, I didn't know what I was doing. It was 10 people in the room and you got 8 people to sign up off your presentation. What was it? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just talking. But that's when I realized I had that gift. Yeah. And I started honing in on that. Once I realized I had that gift, I didn't keep doing network marketing, but what I did do was I did Toastmasters. Yeah. So I said, well, let me go ahead and make this strength stronger. Then I started competing in Toastmasters concerts. So how I made my first million was that I just went out and I did 75 presentations that year and basically sold appointments for my financial service product. So instead of going out and knocking on doors, the next level was leverage. Instead of me talking to people one-on-one, how can I get all of these people in a room? How can I speak to these people and inspire 60 people at one time and get those people to come take action?
Smart. Man, that was good, man. I didn't know about the network marketing piece.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And I think a lot of people misunderstand the industry, even door-to-door sales, anything commission, because it's kind of like what you're saying about insurance. People don't want to understand what they don't want to.
Exactly.
And it's just, I don't look at it for the income. The income is there for sure. Yeah. But it's the skills that you develop.
Nothing like
I didn't go to college, so entrepreneurship has been my college.
Right.
But I'm like, man, the stuff that I learned has been incredible. And that's one thing I think this generation may be missing a little bit, because I think some of them are like, okay, I don't want to go to college.
Right.
I want to be an internet marketer. I want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still missing a piece, and you still got to grow.
Yeah. People see what you're doing. Yeah. But they don't see the sleepless nights and the times that you was running organizations and running groups and people was betraying you and you had to deal with that. And you had to deal with people talking bad about you. You couldn't understand why, because you're trying to do the right thing. All of that stuff you had to deal with, but all of that stuff is a character building things. That's why you are where you are. And they want to skip all of the process. They say, well, I'm just going to go toward this. Now, the good thing about mentorship, you can skip a lot of that stuff that you went through, but you're never going to skip all of it. You will have a shorter version, a shorter learning curve, but if you skip all of it, then you'll never fully develop. For example, my son, bro, when he turned 17, I already noticed he's doing door-to-door sales. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it's a great skill.
Like I don't care how much money I make. I don't care what he's doing. Like it's going to be a skill set that's going to take him to another level. And I might even have him do network marketing. Yeah. Just because forget about the money. Just know I need you to do this because I need you to learn these skill sets.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. And I think that is the piece I wish more people got. Is like, yeah, maybe you don't need college.
Right.
I'm not saying college is bad. I'm not saying it's good. My daughter wants to go, she'll go.
Right.
She don't want to go. But even if you don't want to go, you still have to learn some skills.
Absolutely.
And you still have to learn some lessons. And so some people feel like, well, if I go to college, I don't need education. No, you still need education. And that's where I think some people, not everybody, are kind of missing this generation. So I love to hear that, man. Let's talk about now building a company because what I ask you this question first. If you were to start all over today, okay, where would Marvin start?
Well, I would tell you, I would have started earlier developing my mindset about leadership.
Yep.
A lot sooner.
Yep, I agree.
I think I was teaching myself how to make money. I was affirming being like Think and Grow Rich and making this money, and I was attracting the money.
Yeah.
But I was doing it the hard way because I didn't understand the law of the lid.
Yeah.
I didn't understand leadership. And what I was doing is I was bringing in a team.
Yep.
And I was a horrible manager, man. I was a horrible leader. I couldn't keep anybody on my team for longer than a few months.
Yep.
I was having, when I had one person, it was cool. But when I got that second employee, then it's gossiping, it's backbiting. And then I had to let everybody go and start over. Then I made dumb mistakes.
I've been there before.
For real?
You just like, all right, I messed this up. Y'all all got to go.
Let me tell you the dumbest mistake that I made. So I hired this one lady. Loved her. I was like, man, this is an employee that I know she got my back. She's cool. Like she was an older lady. She was like in her 50s and she treated me like I was a son. I was like, man, she's cool. So then everything was going well. And she said, oh, my son's in town from Nebraska. He moved from Nebraska. And he was like, he's looking for a job, and I really want to make him a financial advisor. He would be good at it. Now, my gut said, I don't know if I want to do that because, you mixing family and all of this. So then I went against my better judgment. I hired him. Then his girlfriend, fiance, wanted to come into the business as a front desk person. And I'm like, well, I already did this, so I went ahead and hired her. So now and then there was another person who they were close with that I brought in. So now it turned into a family business. It just wasn't my family. So what happened was, this is so crazy. This sweet older lady, I get a call from my office that her and the daughter-in-law is fighting. The sweet lady calls her, I don't know if I can cuss, but she calls her a big giraffe bee.
What?
Like, I'm telling her, they was just going in, and I had to leave. I was at a seminar. I remember this. I was at a lunch seminar. I had to leave early to come back and find out what the heck was going on. Turns out that the son proposed to her and didn't tell the mom he was proposing. So she had a vendetta. So they was sitting up here, have family business, just arguing and all of that. Long story short, that ruined my culture, man. I had to end up firing everybody. Like, it was like 6 people on my team, one person stayed from that. And that one person happened to be my sister. So my sister is one person I brought on. I don't even know how my sister stayed because I would have quit. I would have left. Yeah. But one of the things I learned from that is you got to be responsible. One of the number one roles of a visionary leader when you're starting a business outside of leadership, you got to set the culture.
Yeah, for sure. You
got to set the culture. And I didn't set the culture. Everything changed for me when I started to rebuild again and started to have similar problems. I was like, something ain't right. Yeah. It's me. I finally realized it ain't them, it's me.
Yep.
So I said, what type of culture do I need to build? And I came up with what I call 4 H's.
Okay.
I said, anybody who I hire, anybody who's on my team, they got to have certain characteristics or else they can't be on the team. 4 H's. They had to be humble, they had to be hungry, they had to be honest, and they had to be happy.
I like that.
That's it. Humble, hungry, honest, happy. Which means humble, can't have too much pride. They got to be willing to be coachable. They got to be coachable. Honest, they got to tell the truth. Be transparent. When you make a mistake, you ain't in trouble for making a mistake. You in trouble if you don't say the mistake that you made, and I got to come up with it and come behind it. Hungry, I can't give you a desire to want to go out and learn more. Like, I can't give you that initiative. You already got to have it.
Yeah.
And then at first it was only 3 H's, but then I added that 4th H, happy, because I don't want any brilliant jerks on the team. I don't want anybody who's smart, but nobody want to be around them because their attitude is all the way down. So when we interview people, we got specific interview questions, preparing them for that. What the hardest thing I had to do when I developed this, I had to ask myself, who on my team, including myself, have these qualities?
Yeah.
And I wrote humble, hungry, honest, and happy. And I wrote each person's name. This person, yep, boom, they check this box. Damn, this person don't have this. It's 13 people on my team. Once I finished doing that, I realized there was only 5 people on my team that exhibited all of those qualities.
Wow.
There was 8 or 9 people who did not exhibit those qualities, and I had to, over time, let all of them go. Now, the good news, though, I know it's sounding like it's a horrible story all the way through. The good news is, since that time, which is probably about 6-7 years ago, almost everybody on my team have been with me for at least 5 years.
Wow.
And I just recently, for the first time in 5 years, had to let a couple of people go on my team. And it's funny on how I had to do that, because I bragged about me having, to one of my mentors, I bragged about having the same people on my team for 6 years. And he said, and you think that's a good thing? I was like, what do you mean? I said, I used to let people go all the time. I've been having the same people. Everything's good. It's like, what do you mean? Is that a good thing? He said, what that shows me is that you don't hold people accountable, and you're probably not growing. You're probably stagnant. He said, there's no way that you're holding everybody accountable and you have an accountability chart on your team. And what's happening is you got people who are strong and people who are weak on the team. And then the people who are strong are carrying the people who are weak, which they're going to end up quitting because they're carrying the people who are weak on the team.
Sheesh.
And I started doing one-on-ones, bro, and I found out that that's exactly what was going on. And I had to change that. So it's crazy, the evolution of growth that you have. And the hardest part, too, is realizing when you got great team members, but then you realize that what got you to the point that you're at is not what's going to get you to the next level. The people, sometimes, if they're not keeping up with you and growing, that's why it's so important to develop your people. Because if your people are not developing, the company is going here and they're staying here, they're not going to be the people to take you to the next level. So even though you want to be loyal, you can be. The loyalty is making sure that you help them to feed their family and that you feed your family.
Yeah.
So it's so many lessons that I learned, man. Profit.
Strong.
I used to reinvest all of my profits back into the business. Then I read the book Profit First and realized what my problem was. Then I started taking profits from the business, because if I'm not making any money, the company isn't healthy.
Right.
So I mean, I got lessons for days on that.
I love it, man. That's good. I was gonna talk to you about relationships.
Yeah.
Inside of like a company, especially as a leader, like, you know, what are some ways you found to develop relationships with your team? Yeah. But also still have respect of people, because when I first started, that was like a weakness of mine. That was a weak area. It's like, okay, I was cool with people, but then I wouldn't have no respect. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, then I would have respect, but then I had no relationship. Yeah. And I realized I gotta have, for me to be able to lead and work with people effectively, you gotta have a little bit of both. Yeah. Have you found a way to be able to do that, like build the relationships and, you know, the respect? Yeah,
I say I'm going through a transitional period. That's always been what over the past, not always, over the past 5 years, I developed this culture book that really helped. We do trips together, and we are intentional about it. So I formed a culture committee on my team. So I'm not the one that's responsible for onboarding, man. We treat people good, bro. We go all out. We make sure that sets the tone for the relationship. Again, they get incentives. We went to Cancun. We went to Vegas. We went to what's that called? Santo Domingo. What's that called?
Santo Domingo.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. Yeah.
Dominican Republic. So we take these trips. We do happy hours together. Like I think once a month we have a standing happy hour. During COVID, we even did it virtually. So we, you know, it's important to keep those things going. And it's also important that we have what's called daily meeting rhythms. We have so every single day, don't miss a day on Monday through Friday, at 8:30 a.m. From 8:30, it used to be from 8:30 to 9, but we condensed it down to 15 minutes. Every day we used to come in and say, hey, what's a massive action? What's something that you're working on? That's the accountability part, right? But then we also say what's a positive focus, and a lot of times people talk about what's going on in their life. So that's kind of a way intentionally to structure relationship building within the context of that. And then we would form like everybody who would come in, they would get like a mentor and and what we call a compass connect. It was somebody who would connect them. They were responsible for maintaining the relationship. Now that's the good thing. Let me tell you the ugly part of it.
Okay.
I had to fire myself.
Yeah.
Because I realized that although I'm a great visionary leader, although I'm great at helping to set the culture, I'm horrible when it comes to accountability, bro.
Yeah.
Holding other people accountable is not my strong suit, man. People will take advantage of me, and then I would have people on my team that wasn't strong at accountability.
Yep.
And I had this policy called freedom and response. I still got this policy called freedom and responsibility, where they don't have to request off, they don't have to request vacation days. Most people didn't take advantage of it, but then it only takes one person to start to take advantage of it. So I realized that I'm not great at that. And I also realized that the person on my team that I had in that position wasn't great at that. So instead of watching her struggle at that, the hardest decision for me was saying, I got to move her to a different seat or else I'm going to lose her because this isn't her skill set. But I also need to move myself to a different seat because I would lose the company.
Wow.
So I had to, when I fired myself, I said, I need to hire somebody else as a COO to come in. And now that person is responsible for doing one-on-one, even with me. When that person is in that meeting seat, even though I'm the visionary, we got our visionary meeting where I'm the boss, but in that meeting, I'm not the boss anymore.
Got it.
This person is the boss. You holding me accountable. Oh, I'm sorry, I was supposed to get that done. I'll get it done. You need to have it done by today. Okay, I'll get it done. Like, I had to take a back seat and be in another box role because I wasn't good at it. So what's great about that is now I don't have to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
So I can maintain the relationships, even though I'm the visionary and we talked about these things and said it, but that person is not a bad guy. I'm like, I just want to take a trip.
Yeah.
I just want to chill. You know what I'm saying?
That's facts. I like it. I like that. That's really good. Some of y'all need to fire yourself. I'm just let y'all know that right now.
Fire yourself.
You know, and if you don't have a team, you might have to have some one-on-one conversations with yourself, fire yourself, hire yourself back, and then, get rid of all the bad habits that you got. So I think that's good.
And to add to that, man, I read a book. All y'all should read it. It's EOS.
Okay, I haven't read that one.
By Gene Wickman.
Okay.
It's called The Entrepreneur Operating System. The book is called Traction.
Okay, I think I do have. I just bought that book. It's like a black cover, orange.
Yeah, with orange.
Yeah.
Read that book, bro. It's powerful. One of the main takeaways that I got from that book is that every organization needs a visionary and an integrator.
Got it.
Only 3% of the people in this world can actually be both.
Okay, yep.
3% of visionaries are actually both. So it's typically always two different seats. The visionary is typically good at casting the vision, culture, strategic partnerships, getting out in the public, doing what they need to do, bringing all these ideas to the table. But what they're bad at is executing all of those great ideas, holding other people accountable for those. So once you realize that nothing is wrong with you, that you suck at follow up, it's just not what you was meant to do. You was meant to be a visionary. Until you actually take the reins from yourself and fire yourself as the operational integrator and bring in somebody else. Now their job is to make sure they filter all of your ideas. Their job now is to make sure that they go out and they meet with the team to execute. They're doing the one-on-one meetings with the team. You're not doing them anymore. Once you realize that powerful concept, it takes all the pressure away from you, and that's when things start to get done. And then you develop your meeting rhythms, you develop your operational system. That's all in that book, man.
Wow. I love that, man. This is good. I learned some stuff. The 4 H's.
Yep.
I'm definitely going to implement that. That's good stuff. And making sure, there's a few people that I know need to have the implementers inside their organization, for sure.
Yeah.
And I like that piece of listen, if you haven't fired somebody in a while, you're stagnant. That's very, very
good.
Very, very good. Yeah. I always had this section in the show. It's called Breakdown and Breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And I believe every entrepreneur has had failures, breakdowns in their journey, and that there's lessons that if you pick them up, it'll help you break through and get to the next level. Have you had any breakdowns? And if you care to share any of them, what lessons have you learned from it that allows you to break through?
I'll share 2 specific ones.
Okay.
I'll start earlier in my journey. I got into this industry because I went to college and I actually went to law school for a semester.
Wow, okay.
And my grandmother became sick with cancer, so I ended up moving back to St. Louis to help take care of her. She made me her durable power of attorney.
Wow.
Her advisor told her advisor she wanted to be safe. She wasn't safe. She lost 50% when the market crashed. She had no long-term care, so she felt like she was a burden toward the end of her life. So I came into this industry inspired to make sure that I could be a generational curse breaker that didn't happen to anybody in my family, but I didn't know anything about finances. So I served at a big company for 5 years, Wall Street, and then in that particular company, I realized that they cared more what was in the best interest for the company instead of what was in the best interest for the client. They wasn't doing the right thing, and I realized that I was doing the same thing to some of my clients that person was doing to my grandmother years down the line. So when I had to leave that job, it was tough because I grew up, I was homeless for a while, grew up in a shelter. Now I'm at a point where like I'm making 6 figures at a big company that everybody know, and I go out and I tell everybody I'm leaving the company, and they think I'm crazy. Why would you pass up on this opportunity? So here I am thinking I'm inspired. I'm making the best decision. This is in memory of my grandmother. I'm here. Soon as I made that decision to become an entrepreneur, bro, all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
Bro, I was engaged at the time, and I think I was 26 or 27, but I was engaged it's the only time I've been engaged in my life and never got married. I was a member of a church organization where I was like the outreach director, and I was like real deep into the spirituality, religion at that particular time. So when I left the company, they came out and tried to throw a frivolous lawsuit at me, and people there wouldn't talk to me because they said they was afraid that I was trying to recruit them and stuff. A lot of my friends were at that company, so boom, that was tough. On top of that, I decided that the church had become like a cult, like that church in particular, not all churches, but became like a cult. Like I couldn't see a woman without being a chaperone. It was just hard. Like women couldn't cut their hair. Like it was just bad, right? So I decided to leave that church, and then they started telling everybody because I left the church, I don't have God's provision, and I'm a demon. Stay away from me. So all of those people, I moved my house to be closer to the church. They all left me and separated. And then on top of that, the woman who I was engaged to was a part of the church community. So she stayed, of course, in the church community, and I was out. So we ended up breaking off the engagement. So I'm dealing with all of that. And keep in mind that I just started a freaking business. I'm out knocking on doors, how to be my best self. And I just decided I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and it was hard as hell. Yeah. So all of those things going on at the same time. I'm knocking on doors. That's when I'm getting doors slammed in my face. And it was even more sensitive to because I was dealing with all of the other stuff. Man, I'm telling you, leave the church, spiritual abuse there. It felt like that was worse than a divorce. Yeah. And I broke off an engagement. So that was, so all of that stuff.
Like, you had 3 of them going at the same time.
In the job, like, it was crazy. So that's when I literally was going home wanting to give up. I felt like the children of Israel when Moses came and said, let my people go. And they got released. And they was just like, well, at least when I was in Egypt, I got to do this. Yeah. So that's why I was like, at least when I worked for the corporate company, I got a steady paycheck, like all of that. And I was debating, I was in conflict with myself because I knew what my heart was leading me to, but I also knew what my pocketbooks was saying I needed to do, and I was faced with that tough situation. But out of that situation came inner strength. It came courage. To understand that if I can get through this, out of all the stuff that went on, how I was alienated at that particular time, and I still got through this, I don't care who tries to alienate me. I don't care who tries to, like, through whatever reason, blacklist me for whatever reason. Yeah. I don't care who tries to do all of this. I'm going to make it because I've had the periods where I had to make it when I was alone. So now it's like, not only am I going to make it, I'm going to thrive. And the people who wasn't for me are going to look back and say, I always knew he can do it, or they're going to try to connect with me at a different time. But I did that because of what I've been through. So don't ever be afraid of what you're going through, because the tests and the trials creates the faith that you need to make it when those situations happen in the future, most likely on a different level.
Wow, that's strong. That's strong.
The second time, this is when I already was a millionaire, because I thought being a millionaire would change everything. Right. So I had, I remember I did $2 million in a year, but I had to work my tail off to get there. Like, I did 85 events in a year. These are speaking engagements. This is in St. Louis. I couldn't travel anywhere. I had just had my son. Like, my time was like trips this is new to me, being able to go back and forth for 2 cities. I was stuck in one place the whole time. I couldn't try. I took one trip a year for 2 days. Like, it was nothing, right? And I woke up and everything was just upfront commission. It wasn't any trails.
Yeah.
So December, I was number 2 in the company. January 1st, people calling me, congratulating me. I'm walking on stage, accepting an honor and a reward, and then I felt overwhelmed with depression. It's like, how do you get depressed when you just had a $2 million year? Because I thought that I got to do this again. I got to keep this up. These people are looking at me. So I had to go to the person and say, hey, my leader, and I said, if I keep doing this, I don't know if I can. I just got a son. Like, what should I do? I want to grow my business, but I don't want to grow it like this. He said, man, you go hard for another 10 years. He said, how many seminars did you do? I said, 85. He said, do 90 this year. He said, go harder. So that was the kind of advice that I had. And after that, I kind of felt like hopeless, like the money wasn't even worth it. I almost like wanted to like give up and quit. Then I had to awaken myself. And that's when I learned the power of leadership, and I learned the power of being an actual business owner and not just a worker. I had to figure out, leave that company and start something else. But this time coming with the idea that I'm going to build it the right way, where I'm going to build it and I'm not going to do all those seminars. I'm going to be a better leader. I'm going to learn how to manage and lead people. I'm going to learn all those things, because this is around that time, again, when I was having all those people quit. Yeah. So when I left, I actually had more time because I was thinking more than I was doing, and I had more time to build a team. And that's one of the things that was life-changing and that I still carry with me today.
Yeah, man, that's strong. That's strong. That is.
And by the way, I started working like 80% less, but making 10 times more money.
Yeah, so. Yeah, no, that's strong, man. That's I think those are 2 lessons that no matter what level a person is in their journey, you can gather something from it.
Absolutely.
Know what I mean? So yeah, man, I love that, man. Those are great lessons. And I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Oh, man.
I learned a lot.
Absolutely.
I'm over here. I got some mental notes. And I always love to have people come on that, one, I learned from. Yeah. And 2, is everybody here is on their journey that they can learn from as well. Anytime somebody comes to the show, I like to make sure we drop them something.
All right. The official uniform.
The official uniform, you know what I'm saying? Oh, hold on. Yeah, the official uniform. So there's a couple things in the box.
Woo! And, this fire, bro. This over delivering. What? Hey, man, this right here, bro. When I first came into this community, this is all I was wearing, bro.
Yeah, now I remember.
Rapper, athlete, entrepreneur, man. I would be at the airport. People be reading this. It was like, oh, you're not a rapper, you're not an athlete. Man, this brand right here, bro, is everything.
Thank you, bro.
Because it speaks to everything that we're doing as a culture and everything we're doing as a community. No. And it's bigger than just a brand, bro. No. It's a movement.
Thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
That. And I appreciate you coming through. And
you got the book, Speed of Trust.
Speed of Trust. That's one I've been giving that to like my friends, because this is, for me in business, like, and leadership, trust is a currency.
Absolutely.
And your team is never going to go as far as they can unless they trust you.
Absolutely.
And so it's a lot of good stuff in there. And I think it's good for any entrepreneur.
That's good, bro.
I appreciate you coming through.
I appreciate you.
Where can people find you, catch up with you, find out what you got going on?
Yeah, so a couple of places. First off, on Instagram, you can find me at Marvin Mitchell Official. I do have a wealth creators community as well that you can look up. It's just wealthcreatorslive.com. And if you're like, well, I want to create my own bank, but who do I go to? Because 90% of people don't do it right. I have 7 advisors who I train to focus on this, and we do a call completely complimentary. All you have to do is go to wealthcreationcall.com and we got you. Complimentary.
Okay. Awesome. So listen, man, y'all just got a chance to hear from my guy, Marvin Mitchell, not just on the banking plays, but what I really enjoy in addition to that, because I learned a lot from that too, is just the mindset that's allowed him to not only start as an entrepreneur, build as an entrepreneur, but now scale as an entrepreneur, and now have 2 8-figure businesses is absolutely incredible. So y'all just got to play. Go run it.
Go run the play.
Episode.
Let's get it.
Peace. Good stuff, bro.
This is good stuff.
What's going on? Listen, make sure you guys go to RunThePlayStore.com. Get your official Run the Play gear. We talk about shirts, socks, jackets for everybody that's Run the Play all across the world.
Are you ready? We're gonna run the play. Let's
Do you
go.
know what it's like to come from nothing at all, but every day you just wanting it all? Do you know what it's like? Every day facing your fear,